Hello, folks. Good morning. Welcome. It is Wednesday. It is the normal time, the normal bat time, the same bat channel, all of the things. If you were in the chat, please let me know. Can you not hear me and see me and make sure that this is all working? Is this thing on? It is Wednesday, and I will. Yes, thank you, Game Guy, letting us know. Jumping in to confirm that everything is working. Going over to the chat to say hello to the folks who are trickling in. Good morning. I am on, this is my first cup of coffee today, recycling a cup with a lid. These are a gelato cup, the ice cream, the gelato comes in it, and then I keep them so I can put the lid on and then walk around and not spill it everywhere. Um, that's my coffee cup for the day. Saying hi to Game Guy and Zach, Adrian, and Eric, Margaret, and Dee. What's going on? Dee hasn't been here in a while, so it's good to see you here. Sonia, thank you, folks, for dropping in. Fatima. Adrian says he's doing chicken fajitas for the first time, so wish you luck. Chicken fajitas sound delicious, and I wish that I was there, even if it was for the first time. And there is Sarah. What is going on? Adrian says he will listen and see on my oh my goodness. So folks, who I feel like just about every YouTuber that I talk with consistently has posted an update video about the update, just having been impacted by it in some way. And then here comes Carl from left field with a thumbnail that says something like a $25,000 month. And I'm happy for Carl, but then also it's just like the differences from what I'm seeing, like agony, like pain, like suffering, and then Carl's like, and I made 25 grand next month. And I'm like, I feel great for Carl, don't get me wrong. But there seem to be a lot of people struggling, sometimes more than others, in the past couple of weeks. So I just thought it was interesting. Hey, Josh is here. I thought Josh was going to be like in the dirt right now, hiking through some forest somewhere, trying not to get lost, but he's here hanging out with us for one more week. There is Pete. What's going on? Thanks for dropping in, Pete. It's good to see you in the chat. Josh says he's going to Tulsa tomorrow. All right, so he's like taking off. It's like it's time. Then the forest next week. It is the middle of. It's the end of the first week of hashtag No Look June. Feel like it came at a really good time because I'm not going to lie, things were looking bad on some of my sites there at the end of the month with the update, and now I just don't look at it. I'm sure it's still bad, right? I'm sure. I'm assuming that whatever rollback or bouncing up and down is happening is not benefiting me in any way. And so guess what? There's no agony about it, right? I'm not like getting up in the morning and looking and thinking, oh, please be the day it comes back. Please be the day it rolls back, and then have it not happen. I am not experiencing that at all. So for so for those of you who are doing No Look June with me, I hope that you are I don't want to say enjoying, because it's not necessarily easy to hashtag not look. But if you are going through this with me, I would like to know in the chat if you feel like it's helping you or not. For me personally, I do feel like it is making a pretty significant difference in how I feel about getting to the computer to work, and also just overall weathering the update. I think that if I was looking at it every day, I think I would be grumpier. People say, oh, well, you would be grumpier if your sites got hit a lot. I know for sure, well, for sure, as of the data that I collected before the end of the month, that the Mega site was down 25%, which is not a small amount, especially since I've devoted most of my work time in the last 17 months to it. That's a kick in the pants, but I guess I'm just not stressing out about it as much because I'm not looking at it every single day. I don't know. Take it for what you will. Zach says, I thought Josh was going to be in the dirt. Did Amelia hire a hit? I did not hire a hit on on Josh, because what would we do without the dad jokes? I mean, seriously, the quality of the stream would go like that without Josh in the chat with the random from left field dad jokes. I'm just saying. EPMVs are really going up, says Eric, or is it just my site? Well, I don't know for sure the answer to that because I am not looking. However, we do know often that summertime is a time when EPMVs will start to go up. So we get through Q1 and then we get into Q2, and this you can start to see Q4 in the distance, like it's a mountain now that's out there, and then it is now visible in the mist. So we're headed that way. Did anybody else see increases in their EPMVs? That would be good information to know. And then upcycle quilt artist. It looks like your message. Um, Hi all, sorry I missed you guys last week. Got moderated by somebody, but I don't see any problems with Jen saying, "Hey, what's up? Sorry I missed you last week." So it's good to see you, Jen, and thanks for being in the Project Icarus spreadsheet. I will say that after having had a rough month last month about getting into the spreadsheet and updating that, I have returned this month with a bit more spirit, and I say that some of it, a lot of it, is the result of just not looking at analytics. So it's been great to it's great to be back in there. And in fact, I set my goal for 100 articles for the month and to do no look June for the month. And I thought, oh, it might have a hard time getting to 100 articles this month compared to how I felt last month. But so far, I am already to 36 articles for the month. So I'm more than a third of the way there, and it's only the 8th. And I can pat myself on the back here. My children stole my harmonica, but the Mega site finally crossed 1,000 articles, not page views, but I finally got there. I thought I was going to get there at the end of April, didn't do it. I thought I was going to get there at the end of May, didn't do it. Got there on June 6th. So that only took me 1 year, and then January, February, March, April, May, and part of June. I'm never in 17 months started a site from scratch on a fresh domain and built it to 1,000 articles. That's just something I have not done yet. So I can now check the box to say, ka-ching, made it to 1,000 articles on a site. And no, I did not write that content all myself. About a quarter of it is content that I wrote, but the site does have more than 1 million words on it. And I would say it's the first bigger site that I've ever made myself. I have had other sites that were that big, but I bought them. This is one that I made. So I have that experience now. I am scrolling back to check the chat. Adrian says, on another note, one of my sites took a deep dive with these core updates, 90% down in organic traffic. Ugh. If there were alcohol in this, I would be toasting you, friend. That hurts. But Google Discover is up and rising. That is really strange. Eric says, on the flip side, so we have pain over here, 90% drop. And then Eric says that 2 months ago, his EPMV was at $5, and now he's crossed $10 per 1,000 page views. So that could be that rates are rising because of the changing season or the changing month, like advertising budgets have reset. Or it could also be that in the update, and I don't know, I haven't looked at your analytics, but I don't know, but it could be that the reshuffling of the SERPs and the articles that maybe you were getting traffic, like maybe one of the articles that is more valuable is getting more traffic now, and maybe that influences the actual value and the money that you're earning from ads. Maybe the traffic is the same, or maybe even less or more, but some of those other articles that are more value have just a higher overall RPM are bringing the average up. That's what I would guess, because doubling seems like a lot, and I wouldn't expect to see it until closer to the end of summer, even though we know through June, like there's going to be more money as June goes on, theoretically. But that's my best guess. Maeve says, after last week's stream, Project Lathe got hit by 80%. Oh, gosh, that is painful. That's painful to just hear about. And it's secondhand. I'm not even there suffering through it with you. Oh, my God. Ouch. Thankfully, it was such a low EPMV, had abandoned. Whew, feel like you dodged a bullet there. There's our friend Niche Campus. Niche Campus has recently, I wouldn't say recently, but I saw him. I caught him for the first time. He has started streaming and talking about niche sites. So that's another hangout if you are addicted to, or you need to have somebody, or you like to have somebody in the background talking about sites or nonsense, like what happens when you come over here. Niche Campus is another channel that you could do that with. And I also have plans to try and like bring him over here. Now, I I sense some like nervousness on his part, and I will have to leave it to the folks in the chat to reassure him that I will not destroy him. I will not eat him up on the stream. It is really fun. I think you could ask Keith. Keith was the most recent victim. I mean, subject. I mean, guest. Keith Minted Empire was our most recent guest, and he would be a great person to talk to about whether or not one, it's worth it, two, what the experience was like, and was it terrible. Thanks for being here, our friend Niche Campus. Oh, and here's Josh finally coming through with a dad joke. Here we go. He said, when Mozart died, you could hear his music playing backwards at his grave. He was decomposing. Well done. That one just a little tear over here. The brilliance. Niche Campus says, did I miss much? Did we start? I hit the stream button right at 10 o'clock. As for what you missed, I can't say that it was a lot. Chris says that his RPM is going up. So that is somebody who has a vote for RPM going up. The question, though, is it the result of the update and shuffling, or is it just advertising budgets have reset and they are ready to spend money? I don't know. Maeve says on her site that lost 80%, she was making $1 a day to 20 cents. So, hey, oh, yeah, I know. But main blog has literally exploded. So when you say literally, like it has, so you mean the traffic is up. Do you think that's the result of your hard work finally coming to fruition, or did you just get a boost in the update because you just happened to be doing something that the update really rewarded? And if so, what was it? Niche Campus says that his EPMV has been stable recently, which is good unless you wanted your EPMV to go up. And then you feel wah wah. But as long as it's not going down, I think all good. Chris says, sorry, Upcycle Quilt, I accidentally banned you. I don't know how you did that. But I was able to look at the message, Chris, so it's okay. Sarah says, no EPMV changes, but a slight dip in traffic on both sites. I don't know. So there are, I'm certain, and I know this, there's a lot of people who are in the chat who follow John Dykstra, and it's hard not to because John is kicking. But I got his email on his newsletter this morning, like right before the chat, and I thought it was interesting. It came in at 8:37, which was an hour and a half ago. And here's what he said. The title was My Theory About This Google Update. And then he goes through all this stuff where he's like, this is just my thought. I haven't done any analyzing or anything else, but I thought it was worth bringing up and then letting people have some thoughts about it. John's opinion, if you haven't checked that email, is that this update is targeted at content that is perceived as AI. So not necessarily AI content, just that Google perceives it as AI. And so I wrote down this in quotes because I wanted to read it direct, and I didn't think I would find it on the fly in his email. But he said, in quotes, content that goes after keywords already established by another site with similar headings and information are getting pummeled. So that's his opinion, right? And he's also saying that a lot of sites, especially his competitors from some of his other sites, appear to be using content optimizers, and that sites that have more unique content were more likely to survive, to not be impacted as much. And you have to know that there's never like one rule, right? There's always going to be stuff on either side. Like somebody will say, hey, I have an AI site that totally made it through. And someone else is like, hey, I have a totally unique site that got hammered by this. And I think the word perceived is important, because right now, if you take his theory as being true, it's not necessarily AI content. It's just what is perceived as AI content. His focus was on things like This modeling behavior where we model our the headlines, right? The article titles, the H1s, H2s, H3s on sites that are working, and then maybe prepare content that is not, stolen or spun or anything else. But if you, in some of these aspects that that get crawled and get logged, although I honestly don't know how on earth Google would actually, like the Google bot would actually be doing this and then having the processing power to do this, what John is suggesting. And his solution to this was unique content, unique stuff, unique pictures, unique graphics, not using stock photos that are being used in other places or even on the big sites, making unique headlines. And you say, oh, well, I need to have the keyword here, 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 and here, and here, and you're like, oh, the balance. And then another suggestion was for him, he said to write on keywords that nobody else had written on before, or maybe didn't necessarily. And I was thinking about keyword tools and how so many people are focusing on keyword tools and all this stuff, but I would love to know what other people, if anybody else has seen that email, and if they have any thoughts about it. Because again, I know anecdotally, some people will say, oh, my site's unique, John's wrong. And I get that. And other people will say, I have an AI site and it's fine, John's wrong. And I also get that. But anybody have any thoughts about that along with the solution? I will scroll through the chat and then come back to this question when I get to the bottom. Chris says that he was holding his phone while carrying coffee and pressed some buttons. Well, at least Chris is here. I think last week Chris rolled out of bed. We caught Chris like halfway through. He was like just waking up. So I think he's a little ahead today because now he at least has coffee in hand. Josh says, as to the algorithm, some of his are down, overall doing good where it counts, which is good. Eric says, does anyone have a good process with pictures? His process that is time consuming is selecting the pictures, reducing them to 500 by 300, convert them to WEP, upload them, alt text, original URL in the description. There are some plugins that will do some of those things for you automatically. They will reduce it to the size. They will also do the converting to WEBP, WebP. I'm not sure how we're supposed to say that. Are we supposed to say web, or do we say WebP or what? But that format, and uploading them, alt text, original URL in the description. I don't know. I don't do a ton with photos because I just can't be bothered. But I don't do any of the reducing to 500 by 30 because I'm pretty sure I have a plugin somewhere on my site that reduces them for me. It just takes any photos that are over a certain size and squishes them down. And I don't worry about WebP. Maybe that's my bad. Niche Campus said on Friday the 13th of May, Friday the 13th, an auspicious day, said his site had an EPMV of the lowest, had a $5.15 EPMV low. Recently, it's been as high as $9.56. Curious to say, okay, do you have any thoughts, our friend Niche Campus, as to why it's changed, or do you just feel like it's the seasons? There is our friend Soren. Soren, one thing I do not know is how the algorithm is treating you or treated you. And I hope that you are doing No Look June with me and have not looked since No Look June launched, just from what you knew from before. For me personally, I have no idea how things are going. I'm assuming that when I do look at the end of the month, I'll be kind of grumpy about it. But right now, like, ignorance is kind of bliss. And in the meantime, I get stuff done. Niche Campus says, actually, wouldn't June be the last month for Q2? So budgets haven't reset yet. So January, February, March, April, May, June. So the budgets have not reset yet, but usually by the end of the quarter, many of the companies are rushing to try to spend everything so that they can get the same amount of money or even more for the next quarter. So that could be one of the reasons why people have dropped the hammer on ad spending, is because they're looking at their budgets and they're like, oh my gosh, we didn't spend enough in May. We better get it done. Otherwise, they're going to take our money away. So maybe that's part of it. I do not know. Graham says, greetings from the algorithmic underworld. Graham was talking about jumping in on hashtag no look June. Wondering, Graham, one, are you with us? And if so, how's it going? I've talked to many people who say they do not have the willpower to do an analytics detox or an analytics break, but I really do think that it's possible for anybody. Anybody, and I talked about this last week, but anybody who can get into a car and put on a seatbelt can control themselves enough to just not look at analytics. And I'm not going to lie, taking it off of my telephone has made a world of difference because there were like several times that I was addicted to looking at it. Like I would get up and I would wake up in the morning, and one of the first things I would do was back there, I would reach over to the nightstand, pick up my phone, and be like, all right, how bad is it? Or how good is it? And I can't do that because I don't have the app on my phone. And yes, I could go to the URL and like, but I'm not going to do that because that takes more work. And by then I've gotten my brain awake enough to know that I don't want to look. But it's been kind of interesting because I have to find something else to fill that time in the morning. Like normally I would look at analytics in the morning, and then what else can I do with that time? Maybe I will sleep. Actually, the analytics break has led to more sleep because a lot of times what I would have done was wake up with the sun, and the kids don't have to get up for like another hour, and I would get my phone and just check, and then I would be awake. Whereas now I wake up and see that it's light out, and I don't have to get up yet. I just go back to sleep instead of checking analytics because I would wake up my brain. So now I am getting more sleep, I actually think, which is an unexpected side benefit of hashtag no look June. Also, I am checking the thumbs up. People is looking pretty sad. It just makes my heart feel fuzzy. That's literally the only thing that comes of it. And those are the side effects. If you want side effects, go watch WP Eagle. He does it way better than me. Sonia, she says, I'm just focusing on putting out content. I'm still stuck at 30,000 sessions. Gosh, when will it cross 50,000? I do not know, but I feel like your mindset is exactly where it needs to be. Also, my site had a fall in impressions, but there are hardly any barely changes in the clicks. Yeah, we talked about that a bit last week. I'm guessing that some pages that were getting impressions but not clicks have either fallen out of the SERPs or just been shuffled again, so you're not getting impressions on them. But they're not necessarily pages that were helping you previously. But I will say that Sonia's mindset is 100% mine for the month. So I had the end of May where I was feeling like garbage, and I was feeling really just kind of burned out, and then the algorithm update hit, and I was like, oh, what am I doing? So here's what I decided to do. I decided to get the Mega site to 1,000 posts, and then kind of maybe for a couple months go to like a maintenance mode of doing smaller runs of content, but not really digging deep into it. And I have shifted to doing a content sprint on the Fight site because it had about 140 articles and has been close to 20,000 page views a month. And you say, okay, how many more articles would I have to put into it to see it go to something that starts to make this site more valuable? And maybe I will build it something that I could sell, or maybe it just becomes a more valuable member of my portfolio. But it's just something to focus on that is not about stats. I find that I really enjoy the growth part of trying to get a site to something more valuable. And right now at the end of May, last time I looked, it was making between $70 and $80 a month. And I really just think that doing a sprint on that would make a difference overall for that site. And so it feels positive, feels like something I can control. Looking at analytics and wishing that it got better is not something I can control. So that's literally what I'm doing. My goal is 100 new articles on the Fight site from now to the near future. And I'm 14 articles in. Last weekend, I sat down and wrote 14 articles in over a couple of days, which is something I have not done in a long time. And I didn't feel terrible about it. So I feel good about it's a healthy way to process getting through this update. Tell me in the chat if you were there and not just lurking and working, but how are you processing this? Like, how are you dealing with the mental load? Because for me, it's just sort of shutting out the noise and the numbers and getting back to the things that I think I can do. And then over time, as people have maybe some more formed up theories about what I have done wrong or what we have done wrong, I can work on those things. But now is not the time to do it. Scrolling back. I'm far behind. Eric, when we were going back to talk about EPMV, he says, you are right. Oh, yes, I love being right. Literally, I feel like, isn't that what women love to be, is being right? He says, some of my articles that have been rising in the SERP do have a higher EPMV than my top traffic articles from 2 months ago, but not double. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's part of the balance. Soren says, can't tell you my EPMV, hashtag no look June. I do remember. And I am proud of you because you're one of those guys who said to me initially that you didn't think that you could do it. And now look at you. We're like almost done with the month already. It's the 8th. Jen says, miss 1 week and you get banned. Wah, wah. Yeah, well, that is why you need to get here consistently. So you can avoid the ban hammer. Maeve says, her main blog has gone from 200 visits early May to a day to 2,400 per day in June. Wow. That is amazing. That is the kind of thing that when that happens, I feel like you just get, your computer and you're like, I better get in there and like get more stuff done because it's on. That's awesome. Super chuffed. I can't say I know what that means, but I assume that means you're happy. Indexing issues now more or less over. Well done. That feels good. Still 100 to 150 pages not indexed. Yeah, it'll probably continue to happen. There's at least I can see on all of my sites that there's still a small percentage of the articles that either pop in or out or just never go in. And for me, it's generally the articles that have keywords associated with the highest search volumes. I don't know what. I don't know why. I don't know if it has to do with the amount of competition at that level or the authority of the sites that are in the top 10 for those keywords. That's just what I notice. Like I said, I don't know why. And I don't know if it's just because of the way the niches that I'm in or the content that I write or who or how or who or what, but that's what I have seen. Niche Campus says, because I was like mildly harassing him about coming on the stream, says he's ready. He says he's having a good day. We'll put it on the calendar. Let's do it. Dee says, AI, there's blood, sweat, and tears in my content, and I can't see Jarvis doing that. Cheers to that. Andy says, hey, everyone. Sorry, I assume saw's late means sorry I'm late, but you could also mean so late or extremely late. You guys will have to translate for me because I don't know. But what's up, Andy? How's it going? Will says we need the Joe and Amelia collab. Well, first of all, I do not want to harass Will, but I'm going to. Will, I feel like I haven't seen you in a while, and I want to know how you are and how things are going. And if you are still YouTubing, that's a great question. Is Will still YouTubing? So now I'm going to go and look. Are you still YouTubing? And if so, is there anything that I can point people to? Ooh, I can see myself. So my YouTube opened up and it showed me that I'm live now. And the thumbnail for me speaking is like not flattering at all. Oh my goodness. Will has 6 videos. Will, where have you been? The last video that you did was a year ago. So I am late to the party. You made some videos and then got some subscribers. And wow. So Will's videos gets like thousands of views, more views than mine do. And I upload all the time. Please come and make more videos, Will. It's for the benefit of our community. Adrian says, unique content without links, natural or else works to agree. Links do matter. I concur. D says, it's hard to say as my biggest hit site was down nearly 50%. It's all unique, well-written content that isn't covered elsewhere, so I don't know what to make of it. Yes. Go Cool says, hey, Amelia, good to join again. How was the May update? Did you get hit? The answer is yes. Basically, every site that I bothered checking at all did notice some impact by the update, but for me, it wasn't in the like 25 to 100% update. It was somewhere in the range of 0 to 25%. So definitely, definitely painful, but not as painful. So if you go back to like the question of does, what John was saying in his email about whether or not this update was targeting potentially content perceived as AI versus content that was unique. And I will say that the content that I did use Jasper on the Mega site, I was just building some foundational articles and testing out the content, did get hammer slammed. But the majority of the Mega site is targeting keywords that very few websites, if any, are targeting, or targeting them in different ways because and it's like sort of the accidental success, whereas I just don't really care about using optimizer tools or following many established on-page SEO practices. You'd say, oh, well, kind of going your own way can sometimes have the benefit, but still, some impact, just not big. And I don't know who, where, what, why, when, or how. Joanne says the Smush plugin, that's actually the plugin I'm using is Smush. It's one of the Smushes. It might be the re.smush or Smush, but that's what I'm using. Chris, going back to talking about the update, he says, I'm torn. That sounds uncomfortable. On one hand, AI feels unstoppable. On the other hand, amazing content is going to continue to rank. So if this update was targeting perceived AI content, and the solution is, as John Dykstra suggests, is to write more unique content with more personal stories, with unique photos, then the sites where people are going all in on one project versus having a large portfolio of stuff that is modeled or recycled or AI driven or spun, is maybe that's the right outcome. Did I just say that out loud? Don't be offended if I say that. But many of us are, I don't want to say guilty, but many folks in the community do create sites based upon information that already exists, that is already out there, and they're just trying to put it together maybe in a more SEO optimized way, or in a, that doesn't have to be in bad faith, right? It doesn't mean they want to hurt anybody. It's just that there's not necessarily an incentive to go and do your own tests when you can use information that is out there and collate it into something that is useful in some other way. It just, maybe the path to winning is finally sitting down and creating a business based upon something that you actually create. And I have started to really give this a lot of thought in the last year. And the hard part is I don't necessarily know where that fits for me. This may be an incentive to build on that a little bit harder. Chris says, maybe you need to go one way or the other, extreme quality or extreme content, extreme quantity or extreme. Game Guy says, my opinion, John is a very smart guy who chooses his words carefully. I don't see him just making things up. I imagine there are reasons for his analysis, even if he doesn't share all the details. In his email, he did kind of say that he was looking primarily at his competitors for some of his sites, and then also just anecdotally, going around at the other sites. And he didn't do any studies, and he didn't compile massive amounts of data, just kind of eyeballing things. And I respect his opinion and his thoughts. And, the thing he suggested, even if he's wrong, is not necessarily a bad thing. Like writing better content, producing a better product overall for the readers is good advice, whether or not he's right about the purpose of the update or not. Graham says, AI versus non-English speaker. Two sides of the same coin. Pick your poison. Yes. Niche Campus says, it's amazing what allowing the reptilian brain to rest will do. Yes, I I don't know that mine does though. Sarah says, this is my first core update with sites that actually have some content. It makes me nervous and has made me reflect on what I'm doing. So how do you mean? Do you mean the potential risk of investing time and money into a business that could be taken away from you in this in the matter of a keystroke, in the matter of a switch flipping? That is something that we all need to confront and be prepared for. And it's not even doomsday advice, it's just good advice for this business. There is money to be made here, but it is not a party, not a vacation. There is real risk here. Andy says, best of both worlds. AI writing, AI content writing tools for volume and then human interaction to make them better. Yeah, well, if people are using AI tools to get the writing done and then having a human actually do the editing and making them unique. I mean, I don't know how Google is going to be able to figure that out. I just don't. Sarah says she's just going to work hard and make content with the user in mind and hope for the best. And so there's something to be said for learning, right? Going out of our way to learn and continue to grow and try to gain skills on the way. Also that, like, I don't think that people could just do this in a vacuum and not worry about what else is going on around them. Just, I'm going to write an article. I'm going to write stories and not necessarily pay attention to what is working. You see a lot of people, especially like recipe bloggers, who have been creating recipes for years and then find themselves really frustrated when they're not making that much money because they haven't necessarily just taken any time to learn things. So I think you got to go hand in hand. Graham talking about no look Dune. He's no look Dune. No look. Don't look at the Dune. No look June. He said he had a legit panic attack when he checked on Monday. So no more for a while. Well, I think that's an extreme example of what can happen when you get sucked into looking at analytics all the time, and when so much is riding on these sites, our livelihoods, our long-term plans, our families. Like, it's just like torturing yourself to be looking at analytics all the time when things are bad. Eric says, my focus, publish content. Finding keywords, write the articles, publish. Not get distracted. That's the hard part right there. Sarah says, content is king. How about queen? Can the queens be in charge too? I'm just saying. Graham says he published an article yesterday and it ranked really fast, less than 6 hours, and showing at position 2. So not all is lost. So you're doing something right, Graham. You just got to stick with it. Sonia says, yep, I've been publishing 1 article a day, breaking my streak today. It is not easy. It is not. But when you fail, or when you fail to meet one of your goals, get back on the horse tomorrow. Get back to it. Andy says, since the update, I have twiddled my thumbs and simply revisited my blogs and edited for spelling and grammar. Tedious, but hopefully ticking the box to repurpose content. Time will tell. Time will tell. It could be that folks that have been working on their sites and doing their best and got sucked into this will get a bump later, maybe in the next update as things get tweaked, because let's just face it, AI content is a thing. And I think future updates, if this is aimed at detecting AI content or perceived AI content, there's going to be more of it coming. Denise, what is going on, Denise? I feel like we haven't caught up in a while. It's great to see you in the chat. She says she's lurking and working. Just keep writing during the Google updates. Yes. Yes and yes. Sarah says, this really makes me think a portfolio that includes different traffic sources and monetization strategies is best for me. It's probably best for everybody. Not just you, Sarah. I mean, everybody. Having a balanced, well, just overall, right? Not just online business, not just websites, but in general, having multiple income streams is a great goal for all of us in the end. And some offline stuff too, in addition to online stuff, because if one of those streams get, then hopefully you'll still have something there to support your family with. Joe says, I'm still looking at stats sometimes, but I've practiced recently to remove my attachment with it. Like, I don't care what it looks like. I just know it will improve over time. So just focus on content publishing. So you're right. There are two parts to that. There's looking at stats, and then there is being attached to them. I find myself wasting a lot of time thinking that I'm looking at stats with a real purpose. Like I frequently go to Google Analytics, or I was back in May, and then just flipping through all of the like the stats by article. So you have the ability to look and see how much traffic each article is getting from the top to the bottom, and just clicking all the way through. And I tell myself that I'm looking to see, the new content. Like I look on the last 7 days. So I just look at the last 7 days to see if any of the new content that I posted, if it is getting picked up anywhere and if it's getting traffic per Google Analytics. And that takes a lot of time to actually go through when you've got 1,000 articles and you're like, click, 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 click. And it feels like I'm on task. But truly, if I just do that every day, I'm not really on task. Like not truly. And that's one thing that I have missed. Like I sat down a couple days ago to try and say, okay, what am I going to work on? And then I wanted to go to Google Analytics and to go through those articles and see, so what's working? Which style of article is working, so I can write more of that. Because I didn't have access to that, I felt a little unmoored. Like, what shall I work on? What shall I do? I don't know what to do. And I figured it out. I figured out something to work on, but it's changing habits. Habits is hard. Jen says, I'm going to hit 100 articles this month. That's a high five. That's a high five moment. Let us know when you get there. The new plan is to hit 250 by December 31st. All me, no budget for content yet. That is going to be exciting. You should be very proud of yourself when you hit that. Not if, when you hit it, and we will celebrate with you. Joe says, talking about streaming, he says, I can jump on today or another time if you want to set up. Let's set up another time so that we can plan and have like a legit, like for real thing. And like today, if I had used StreamYard, then I could just flip you the link and you can hop on with me right now. But I'm not. I'm using YouTube Studio. So I'm not going to stop the stream and then start another one to do that. We'll just plan it soon. It'll be a surprise. Just one day you'll be there. Nobody will know that this is the day that Niche Campus is coming to hang out with me. D says, question, has anyone tried Link Whisper 2.0 and is it worth it? I have not. I actually use the Link Whisper free plugin on all of the sites that I'm working on. With the premium version, I did really appreciate the little graph, like the little circle graph and like the accounting of how many internal links that I had built, because sometimes when I just need some like a goal to reach and say, oh, like I just, you feel like you could be doing this in perpetuity, like going back and working in links. So it's like, okay, I'll sit down and I'll build 100 more. And then it would give me something to work towards. And now I don't have that. But most of the functionality that I use is in the Link Whisper free. Stiggs jumping in here, capitals with backwards letters. He says, probably because you have no picture to scroll. Yeah, that's probably not going to change anytime soon. And if that is the difference between succeeding in the update or not, then I'm screwed. Let's see. Will says, no new videos planned. Sad face. Don't have much time. All focused on family and sites. Well, I totally understand that. It's hard enough for me with family to publish 2 or 3 times a month. So I totally get it. Chris says, I think AI is a lazy scapegoat in every update analysis. I doubt AI has been directly targeted in this update. Fair enough. Chris weighs in. Adrian says, fajitas are done. And you'll have to let us know how they are. Carl is not here to tell us what was for tea. So, and anytime we ask what's for tea, I think Chris has to drink. So just saying, if Chris is consuming alcohol at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning, this is the time for Chris to get started. Stig says, Christopher, nice drawing board episode. What's funny about that is I'm pretty sure that I was there too. Maybe not though. Steven says, hey all, better late than never. And I totally agree. Anytime you jump into the chat is a good day though. Andy says, content is king, but relevancy is the queen. Well, there. Ooh, another thing that I wanted to mention as far as just impacts of the update. So at the end of last month, I was feeling like really good about the Otis.global case study. All the numbers were looking really good. Things were getting indexed with a reasonable amount of time. But at the end of the month, right in the middle of the update, and I haven't checked traffic or stats for June, so I don't know. But SERPRobot showed me that like 3/4 to 80% of the articles that were popped and found in SERPRobot were no longer found. And I take it to mean, I think that they were de-indexed. And Google Search Console tells me they're still indexed, but they're not showing in SERPRobot, so I do not believe Google Search Console. I don't know what, I don't know why, but I thought it was really interesting and definitely makes me feel very cautious about continuing on with the plan that I had for this site for the month of June, which was investing a lot of time and a lot of money into it. So I have some concerns, but I'm going to continue to watch it. And I wondered if anybody else had seen anything like that with any of their projects. Just the other sites definitely saw some like shuffling and keywords, but that was one that really just did bad. Really, 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 really bad. And I don't know why, because technically it had lots of links and it looked really happy otherwise. People are texting me and I want to see what it is to make sure that I haven't done something wrong or there's not a bug on the screen. Let's see. Steven says, regarding Google Analytics, you can go to the content landing page tab, then on the bottom right hand, type in one sword. Oops, type in one word related to your new article, e.g. storm, if that's the title, and Google will sort for that. Yes, you can. And see, that was the thing, though, is that instead of looking for a particular article, what I would do is just scroll through and look at them all, which to me proves that I was there mostly to just get the dopamine rush versus because I wasn't looking for a particular article. I just sort of scanned in my mind thinking, okay, I published content around this cluster in the last, last week or so. So let's see if any of it is doing anything. And then I would scroll and scroll and scroll. Eric says that he's going to focus on quality. I don't think you can go wrong with that. Josh is the only writer, and sometimes that's the way it works, right? Andy says AI tools are here to stay. I think we are in agreement. And besides, it's artificial. It's not really artificial intelligence, but I mean, we call it AI. Still the case of how you use them. I agree. Says we have used tools for years, Grammarly, SEMrush, Ahrefs, SEO, all of the things and the above. Totally true. There's Ken. What's going on? Sorry you missed it. Well, there's still a few minutes left, so you haven't missed everything. Josh says, hey, listening more today. Too much work. That's totally okay. I totally get that. Stick says, kazoo to you. Steven says, I find that Google Search Console is 2 days behind. It is definitely not updating real time. And I don't even know if I believe that it's 2 days behind. Sometimes I think it's just outright wrong. Just outright wrong. Eric says, I noticed that the search intent, put in air quotes, search intent, has been changed by Google for a few queries, but my sample is still too small to be conclusive. So when you say the search intent has been changed by Google for a few queries, meaning Google has updated what it thinks the viewer, the user wants when they search for that particular topic. So like, let's say somebody searches fence boards, because I always use my fence example because that's what I'm looking at right now is a fence. So fence boards, and then it would have delivered a how to build a fence as the result. And so maybe now they're delivering something more like Home Depot and Lowe's as the result because people actually want to buy fence boards versus build a fence with the fence boards. Like, is that the kind of result that you're talking about? I just want to make sure I understand the question as a result. Let's see. D says, got to go. D, how dare you abandon us? It's don't forget to hit the like button. Yes, well, it does make my heart feel just a little nice and fuzzy. Sarah says that she's noticed Google is changing her titles. Even if the title matches the search intent, they may give it another title that doesn't match perfectly. So it could be that they've noticed and just collecting data on that particular topic that the user, even though they might search for something, ends up on the article that contains this information. So they're making the conclusion, the assumption that when somebody searches fence boards, they want the article about building a fence versus the perfectly optimized article for buying fence boards at Home Depot. Eric says, asking Maeve, says, how many articles do you have on your Leith project? I also have the feeling that smaller affiliate sites got hit, and then you have to sit down and say, well, why? Because it does seem like a lot of the small, medium, large info sites have gotten hit, and how that would also drag in smaller affiliate sites. I guess it could play into the argument that it has to do with optimized content that's optimized purposefully in some way. I would want to know if folks who are just doing their best and not worrying about SEO and on page, how those guys are and gals are doing versus the big dogs who are heavily invested in tools. Stig says, I wonder if YMYL has expanded in this update. He said 2 sites jump and then drop a lot. Both are on the cusp of YMYL. And it's funny that you say that, Stigs, and I would ask you if it is the site that we have in the same niche, because the fight site for me, about a week before the update, maybe 10 days, I think on the 13th or 14th, got a major boost. Like I was feeling like I was counting the dollar bills, like watching it just jump up. And it's my fight site, and I was thinking, this is the time, like this is the time to really get after this site. It's really going to the moon. And then when the update rolled out, it didn't just get killed, it just went back to where it was before. And so I was disappointed, but not that disappointed, because it looked like there was something being tested, and then they rolled it back. They're like, no, 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 no. So and this is a site that I have not done any optimizing at all, and very little outsourced content. I've written most of it myself and ignored most of what other people are doing, partially because not a lot of people are doing what I'm doing with it anyway. So I think it's interesting. Although, to be fair, the site basically weathered the update minus the like big jump and the drop pretty well. And most of the content on it is unique, and I haven't used tools on it. So maybe that plays into John's argument that the update was targeting perceived AI content. I haven't had good luck getting the content outsourced or running it through AI tools. And so I've written most of it myself. I know, just thinking back, like, that is the site that I'm working on more closely that seems to have performed the best through this time, at least up through the end of May. I have no idea what it did this week because I didn't look. Stig says dollar bills. We need to share notes, I think. Maybe. Eric says, going back to the question of the searcher intent and the results that provided, he said, I've noticed 2 queries that are now owned by e-commerce, and it was not that heavily owned by e-commerce sites before. So, I mean, there can be so many things that the update is targeting here, not necessarily just one thing, but if what they're trying to do is serve the best possible article matching the intent of the user, that could also be why some of the AI sites have fallen. Like, you think about how many of the sites just cram as much content into an article as possible. So answering every single question that, like the example, like the fence example, where they would have H2s and H3s about, okay, the article is about building a fence, but then they answer every question possible, like best pine boards to use, best oak boards to use, best cedar boards to use. Just go down. So you have basically an article full of like purportedly FAQs, which are really just every question possible on the topic, but it's not necessarily serving the intent of the user all that great because they don't necessarily want all of that information. They really just want to know how to build a fence. And so maybe those articles are perceived as being less less for the user experience, and the user is not getting what they want. They really just want what it is that they wanted. Ken said Alex had his affiliate sites hit, but not his info site. I did notice that he had kind of a doom and gloom thumbnail there in YouTube. The title of the article was like "Time to Quit" or something, and I did watch part of it while I was working and washing dishes actually, and so I caught some of the stuff that some of his stuff was hit, and he's chosen to maybe not work on them on those sites for a while and focus on what is working. Eric says he made a stream. You're right. He made a stream to find out what happened to his site. Stig says that he had a few friends in the parenting niche and said that they dropped on some weird topics. Yeah, it's interesting. So Maeve was talking to Eric. He says, I feel that that site was on the verge of YMYL and that got extended. So that was the site that you said got hit, that it was impacted negatively, Maeve, or it was the site that made out like gangbusters and now was doing really awesome? Because I'm curious. Sonia says, any tips on how to go from 30,000 to 50,000 sessions? I feel stagnant for a bit. How to get re-inspired, how to fire up traffic to your site when you've just been doing the work and doing the work. And that is a great question. That is the question for the ages, because this is the grounded out phase. And the solution in most cases is to just keep doing what you're doing and power through. There aren't really any shortcuts to the end goal. I mean, you could pursue alternate traffic sources, right? You could say, okay, maybe I should try and get other traffic to my site, like through Pinterest, for example, or social media, or doing collabs. For me, I feel like that's a bit of a distraction, because in the meantime, when I'm focusing on those other things that will get me the bump to, maybe if your goal is to get to 50,000 sessions to go to Mediavine, that you stop doing the things that you really need to do to make the site successful. I think what you got to take away from this is, and the rest of us can support you and say, we all know how you feel. Every one of us, I can't speak for every one of us, but I think almost every one of us has a site that with just a bit more work will be at a place that we want it to be. And we like obsess about it, and we wish it would go faster, and are grumpy that it's not there yet. And really, truly, I think the solution is acknowledge that you feel that way and figure out a way to push through. I don't think that there is like a like a magic ticket, like a shortcut, like some way that I could make you feel better. Maybe the solution is to help with the mental load, is to, during this time when things are hard, is to find yourself maybe a support group that is more than, I mean, I love that you're here, but maybe you need to find somebody in your time zone to jump on Zoom with and say, hey, I just need like that. I just need like a shoulder to lean on just a little bit, because those are the things I feel like have really helped me get through, is to have somebody to go to and be like, oh, this is so hard. And have them just pat you on the back. Like, you could do it. You could do it. You're going to do it. You just have to stick with it. And having somebody to talk to in real time, I think it's really valuable. That's what I would recommend. Eric says, straight answer is more content. I'm at the same level you are. I will push for more content. Niche Campus says, I'm around 30,000 sessions, and getting to 50,000 is probably just keep going and publishing. Although we wish a special sauce changed the growth somehow, right? I wish there was a shortcut, but I just don't think there is. And I think chasing them is a waste of energy that could be used on something else. Drinking beer, reading a book, writing content, sleeping. I really do. Sonia says the fear of getting to 50,000 is still getting rejected by Mediavine. Don't mean to be negative. That's a real fear. I've taken a site to Mediavine and had them say no thanks. And that is a big bummer. It's a mega downer. But the upside is if your site has been approved for AdSense or with Ezoic and Mediafine says no, there are other options. Like you could, if you wanted to pursue another ad network, just get back to the grind it out, and get it up to another app network like AdThread. So just have it in your mind. You have to accept the possibility that it could happen. Hope for the best, but then be ready to roll with the punches if it goes wrong. I don't feel like Adrian actually told us how his fajitas turned out. And I feel like the stream will have to go on um, until we know for sure how that played out. How were the fajitas? I mean, I have to go too. It's 11 o'clock. The hour is up. This is the time people are starting to jump off the stream because they have other things to do and they've been here for the hour, which, by the way, Adrian says, check my Discord. All right. So he hopefully have messaged me a beautiful looking picture of something delicious, but maybe not. Maybe they were a fail. I don't know. Folks, on your way out, smash the like button to tell YouTube that this was awesome. This channel finally crawled past 500 subscribers, which is a feat in itself. Thank you for those of you who are here every week, who are with us, who are positive, who contribute meaningfully to this conversation and jump in the chat, support each other. It's an extremely valuable hour every week. Thank you so much, folks. We will see you next week, and maybe it'll be the week that you see Joe on the stream some here with me. All right, everybody. Take care.